Back in March, the UFC's parent company TKO agreed to a $335 million payout to settle a pair of antitrust lawsuits representing more than 1,200 fighters. The plaintiffs had initially sought approximately $1.6 billion. Judge Bowlware took several issues with the proposed settlement: the gap between the amount agreed upon in the settlement and what the fighters had initially sought, and the issue with the settlement when looking at the intentions of the different lawsuits. One lawsuit was focused on fighter compensation, and the other was on more favourable contracts for fighters moving forward. These cases are expected to go back on trial on the 28th of October this year.
These fans were looking for way more money on the settlement, and they got so much. And now the judges said, actually, the gap between what they're looking for and what they got is robbery. So we're going to dash that, and we're going to make a new hearing for maybe a more favorable settlement. That's kind of what I got from it. Do you want to break it down, Magdalene, and let us see from your perspective what you think.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, I mean, like they seem to be, yeah, here's your offer. No, we're not happy with that, so we're not going to let them accept it, even if they were going to accept it. And they're just taking it to another case, and they're going to open it up again, and they will come back with a counter offer. Yeah, I mean, they ain't going to want this to go to trial. They ain't want to go through all of the hassle and all the trials and tribulations of it. They're going to want to just get it paid off, get it done and dusted, because it's only going to open up more and more cases going forward if this continues to get stretched out as much as it is. And that was the same takeaway for me as well. As they want something to be fair. And if they get this payout and everybody's happy, job's done.
1.6 billion for so many fighters. I think 100 and something fighters, like they mentioned earlier on. 1.6 billion is the settlement that they're looking for. Getting 335 million is kind of like, it's still a lot of money to people like us, but for them and the sacrifice that they've made, the injuries that they've had, and some of the wrongdoings that they've had to go through. For example, moving a whole venue for John Jones at the cost of the other fighters, but put John Jones in first class, and he ain't got to pay. But Corey Anderson did come out and say, yeah, we had to pay. And my wife was pregnant, and she was on the flight with me, and I had to pay for her flight as well. And UFC did not dip in their pocket to help none of these guys.
No wonder these UFC tickets are getting so expensive when they've got to pay this big old bill coming. Like,
yeah, bro, the UFC Noche, we've seen it, 3,000 to 12,000 for seats. But
crazy.
What do you make of this antitrust situation? And do you think they will get nearer that 1.6 billion, or maybe they'll meet in the middle somewhere around 700 million? What do you think?
So, from a slightly different angle, I just want to tag on to what Jordan just said in terms of the Noche tickets. My question is really, the lawsuit goes through, but then what does that do to our favorite promotion, to the most profitable promotion, to the promotion that's the gold standard? It's business at the end of the day. And when you take that much cash out, it does impact. We're complaining about them going to the apex and having fights at the apex. Well, they might be fully then at the apex because now all the budget that they would have used for development in other areas is gone. The point I'm making is, yes, if they've done something wrong, antitrust laws should kick in. Whatever money needs to be paid needs to be paid. But we do still need to be cognizant of the fact that it is a business. And if you gouge it in a certain way, it could impact what the promotion has planned. However, they do have the backing now of TKO Group, which is maybe why the judge is saying, listen, I think you guys can afford it because we know who the big brother is, which would be a very sour pill to swallow as a new owner of the UFC, to come in and then an antitrust lawsuit that's been coming for years and years and years suddenly hits your balance sheet. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how high they get and what impact this really has overall in terms of how the UFC can operate going forward.
UFC is currently valued at 11.3 billion.
So they can afford it.
That's 12. yeah, but that's still if you're looking at 1.7 billion, that's almost 12%. 12% margin is a lot. It doesn't sound like a lot, but if you look at how
no, like a billion is still a billion. Yeah, I mean, no, 100%. You're losing 10% of your profits in one chunk in one go. That is still
and that's my point.
Not wanted.
The fact is that will have some sort of impact. Whether or not they're in 11 billion, it's still 10-12% of revenue gone just like that.
Yeah, you know, but the my take is none of these guys will miss that 1 billion, man. I'm telling you, man. These guys, they do things in billionaires playground when they go to Riyadh, when they go to all this Saudi Arabia, the amount of connections that they have, they can get that billion back as an investment just like that if they really wanted to. You know, I'm trying to say, I personally don't think they will miss it. If they wanted it back as some kind of investment or some kind of getting some kind of equity or whatever it is, that can be very, very easily.
Especially when you consider the ESPN deals almost up and where they're
ESPN
going to
deal,
move into. Then.
like there's so
Are
much
they going to start
avenues for
looking at
UFC.
Netflix and what they're going to offer them? And yeah, I mean,
there you go. There's so many avenues for them to make that money back, like really, really quick. But I'm thinking more from the perspective of the fighters, what they've sacrificed, the things that they've gone through, and some of the things that maybe they could have been compensated for. And
Ozzy makes a good point there. It probably won't come out in a chunk. It probably would be in installments over the years.
Yeah. Look, it's definitely going to look. None of these guys want to pay out that kind of money, like straight out. So they're probably going to do it like, you know, that lottery ticket that they sell. You win 10 grand every month for 30 years. It could be one of those. You know what I mean? So you never know. It could just be installments like that. And you're absolutely right. But for me, I just think the fighters, they deserve a lot more for the things that the things that they put their body through just for our entertainment. And if they're not being dealt with right, and Ngannou did come out that they ain't got no health
So
cover.
then, wouldn't it be better to put it into some form of health program? The point I'm trying to make is, and with all the solutions you've mentioned, that's not really how money works. It's a bit different. But if you put it into something that can actually help them, you know what I mean? Like setting up proper health programs.
Go for the root cause rather than putting out the fire.
Exactly. Then it makes sense. But to just dish out the money, for me, it's just like, okay, I hear that these guys have a claim, they have a valid claim, but the solution is like, okay, then they'll blow it all in 3 years and be back to square one, because that's usually what happens when you give
Bro,
lump sums.
I would say this to you now. This is only because Francis Ngannou put it out, and that's what I was alluding to earlier on. He tried to put it when he was negotiating his contract. He said the fighters' health care, all of the fighters, not just his own, all of the fighters' health care was part of his demand as part of his contract or negotiating leverage at the time. And UFC disagreed with him. And they didn't. He said that was one of the reasons why he parted ways and vacated the title, because he really, really, really wanted that health program, because obviously they made him defend with the injury, and didn't really have the healthcare. I think the one that covers them is stuff that happens during the fight, not on the training, not not all the work that they put in up until they get into the cage. So I think that's what Francis actually wanted to get covered, to make sure that all the fighters actually have healthcare cover with the UFC, and UFC said no. So maybe, like you said, it's something that they have to revisit now, and Francis could have been right the whole time. And now if they do it, then you gotta go back and give Mr. Francis Ngannou a little feather in the cap for at least bringing it to the forefront and fighting for that purpose. So yeah, man, shout out to all the guys that are still waiting on their payout. Hopefully the thing don't take too long, and they start seeing some money from it.
Me though, I got my payout.
If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget we do our Dust Off Shakedown every Wednesday, 9 p.m. UK time. Don't miss it.